Hello and welcome to Will It Roll. This week's theme is rally cars. Now I'm going to start by saying there are many rally cars, or at least road legal versions of rally cars in Forza, and it would be rather time consuming and it would be a very long video if I was to roll them all. So I have picked and chosen sort of ones from different eras, different generations, and fairly sort of significant rally cars. Also, while I'm on the subject of this, a Subaru Impreza and Mitsubishi Evo have both already been rolled, as has a 205 T16, so they're not going to be in here. This Lancia, unfortunately, wasn't the ones that, that was picked to be rolled, but I have got a good selection of cars. I will also say that the paint jobs are all bought from the storefront because I have no painting skills, or very little. So all of these paint jobs that are on these cars have been bought straight off the storefront. We start with the Lancia Delta, the most successful rally car of all time, and one of the best handling four-wheel drive cars. It's a great fun car to drive, this one. I wasn't really sure what to make of sort of trying to roll these cars. I was expecting it to be quite difficult because these are road-going versions, so I don't quite know how the suspension, on how sort of racy the suspension is on these cars. Anyway, with the Delta, you can see that the suspension was fairly soft and it was proving a little bit tricky. I tried for a while with the Delta. Yeah, it was a bit of a funny one, this one. Not much was happening until all of a sudden it fell over. That one confused me. The car took a lot of damage. You know what? I don't know. I was trying for sort of 5 minutes and nothing was happening. I thought, oh, I'm gonna have to go upgrade it, and then all of a sudden it fell over. So, I'll take that one. Yeah, very high levels of damage on the Delta. Lots of bits have fallen off and got bent. But never mind. We move on next to possibly one of the most significant rally cars in history. It is, of course, the Audi Quattro. Now, Forza actually has the proper rallying version, so I'm using that one. This is an R3 car. First attempt, and I clattered the curb and got quite a lot of airtime, but I didn't really hit the curb properly. Now, I was expecting this one to be kind of difficult to roll. It is a race car after, well, kind of a rally car after all. I mean, it does have higher ground clearance than a normal race car. However, look at all the aero bits on it. So I was expecting this to be a little bit trickier to roll, but nope. First time that I hit the curb properly, it did a very spectacular flip and ends up on its side. Yeah, that one there, very straightforward to roll. You have to touch the curb and it kind of spun and crashed and flipped about around on the ground. This has probably had one of the most spectacular rolls of any car on Will It Roll, I think. I'm going to go to the onboard camera in-car view or whatever, so you can see this is the view that, that I was getting when driving this car. So we sort of turn in and aim for the curb, and very violently ends up on its roof, and then where are we going? There we go. God, yeah, that had a very spectacular flip. Did a lot of sort of twisting and rolling about, and there we go. Now it's parked on its side and gradually kind of rolling down the hill. But yes, never mind. We are moving on. Up next, we have got one of the most successful modern rally cars. It is a Citroen C4. There are quite a few Citroens that have been successful. That's pretty much down to Sebastian Loeb winning everything. First attempt, and it didn't really work particularly well. Now, this is the slowest of the cars, because this is the C4 VTS or whatever. It's still not a bad car. I quite like the C4s, but it is the slowest of all of the cars. And of course, it is on very road suspension. So yeah, getting it to roll is very difficult. Now this has one of the problems that we've seen a few times now, is that the bodywork is catching on the floor. At least that's what it feels like. I can't really tell, and it's very hard to show you in the replays because all the cameras that are useful end up going through the floor. So we can have a look here as we kind of try and attack the curb. That's what it does. I think something gets caught on the floor because it feels like it should go over, and something stops it. So I would imagine it is probably the side skirt or the hitbox around the side skirt that is catching on the floor. I tried for a while and it just did exactly the same thing every single time. So I eventually got bored and gave up. So it was off to the upgrade shop, to the first car we needed to upgrade this time as well. I should point out the other two were completely standard. This has now got just raised suspension. I figured that because it was almost going over and it's just getting caught on something, that just the raised suspension would do it. And sure enough, on the first attempt, there we go, Citroen has rolled over and has now parked on its roof. Yeah, again, it's something that happens with some of these cars. It just kind of slightly catches on something and that stops it from going over. I mean, I assume that if you were to handbrake it on the grass, it probably would fall over. But there we go. We move on next to another very, very significant rally car. This is the Lancia Stratos. This is significant actually because it was one of the first kind of purpose-built rally cars, and it kind of showed that if you wanted to compete with a Lancia, you had to build a car specifically to go rallying. As far as rolling it goes, well, it has got kind of soft suspension, which was making it very, very difficult to roll, although it was going rather sideways after hitting the curb. Yeah, this had very, very soft suspension. I mean, this is one of the oldest cars here, so yeah, it has got fairly old suspension. But that was kind of what was making it difficult to roll to start with. On this run, it does something rather incredible, and it completely breaks physics. Look at that. It went through the wall. I'm just going to go slow the replay down, you can go back and have a look. I got so close to the wall, it actually went through it. Wait for it, there we go. The spoiler is actually going through the wall. Look at my amazing drifting skills. So you can't get much closer to the wall than that. Yeah, I may have slightly broken physics on that attempt. But as far as rolling it goes, it wasn't really happening at the moment. Next run though, and the Lancia goes and breaks physics again. I have no idea quite how this works. So we hit the curb and I thought, oh, it's going over, and then it doesn't. And then it just slides and clatters the wall. How did that not roll over? I do not know. That is the most I've had a car on its side, and that was me trying to get the blooming thing to go over as well, and it just wouldn't go. So I tried for a while, and going from this direction just didn't really seem to do anything. I guess I probably wasn't hitting the curb quite right, or something along those lines, and it couldn't get it to roll. Every time I did get it onto two wheels again through here, it did exactly the same thing, and it caught on something, and it didn't roll. I can't show you any better angles because the car's so far at its side, the camera's just through the floor, which is absolutely useless. So, to the upgrade shop, and again, it was just raised suspension on this one, figuring that the car was close enough to the grill, was close enough to rolling anyway. I'd only need to raise the suspension. First attempt, I was terrible. Don't know what was going on there. So second attempt, and you kind of really guess what's going to happen. I don't really know why this car, what was catching on this car. I mean, I guess again it's the side skirts that was catching. With the raised suspension though, it couldn't get caught on the side, and there we go. The Lancia has a fairly spectacular roll again, and then I'm trying to park it somewhere good for the camera. Yeah, this was a funny one. Again, the side skirt hitbox or something, or maybe it was the fact that the suspension was so soft as it went on its side, the suspension compressed, and that kind of scraped the entire side of the car along the floor. Maybe. That's what. In fact, I could have just had racing suspension. It might have gone. Probably should have tried that without messing about with the ride height. But anyway, there we go. Move on to, I think this is our final car, the Ford Escort Mark II. I had to throw this in there because I love this car. It's a fantastically fun car to drive, and it was rallied for a while. I'm not sure how successful it was. I think it was fairly good. But yeah, I just like this car. It's a fun car to drive. Not the fastest. In fact, this might be slower than the Citroen. I'm trying to remember now. I think it might be sort of PI wise, but it's a very good car. Very, very fun to drive. I was expecting this to be very difficult to roll as well because it's slow and has old suspension, very soft suspension. However, it fell over after about sort of 5-10 minutes. Can't remember exactly. And now I'm trying to guess where the camera is to park it well for it. Yeah, that was a weird falling over on that one there. I'm amazed that one rolled, but there we go. That is it for this episode, guys. So thank you very much for watching. As ever, if you have themes you would like to see us do or particular challenges for Will It Roll, then please do leave them in the comments section. I will have a look through and I will pick my favourites. However, until next time, goodbye.